in? Nope. There he is. Good evening, ladies. Sorry, folks, didn't think you saw that enough, so it must have hit it twice. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here with, on behalf of Operation Liberty for Kentucky and America, with C. Wesley Morgan, candidate for U.S. Senate. Good evening, Wesley. How are you?
I'm doing great, Dave, and thank you. I know you're sick this evening, and I very much appreciate, and I know the audience will very much appreciate you being able to, even though being sick, to help this broadcast tonight, because you're an essential part of it. And I don't know if I could do this thing on my own or not, because I'd be looking at just a blank screen, and it's pretty tough to keep things rolling that way. When you have a moderator like you who keeps the thing going in the right direction, it becomes a lot easier to do.
Yes, it
And
does.
I want to apologize out there to the people that watching that we don't miss these shows on purpose. We have some kind of technical difficulties, or I believe last week Dave had to drop everything and go to Indiana. His stepmother was ill in the hospital, and family comes first, and nobody can blame anybody for that. So we're working on, though, maybe we can get Ellen, hopefully to be a backup moderator, just in case that at anything, some emergency happens, or don't even feel like doing it, and somebody else can step in and do it. I don't think there'd be a problem with that, but we don't want to miss any more shows, and we, of course, that was linked into the holidays, because it's most people don't want to watch this stuff anyway during Christmas or New Year's. So we're back on track now. So Dave, we're ready to go. Whatever direction we need to head in. Do you want me to go ahead and go into the?
Well, Diana.
Hey, Diana.
Yeah, Wesley, why don't you kind of tell us what's been going on? Because it's everybody the holidays. By the way, I hope everybody had a great Christmas and a good New Year's with their family and friends. I hope everyone had a safe holiday season, travels. And I know, Wesley, you were, and I am too, very appreciative of having a wonderful time with family and a much needed break as well. And
this doing this kind of stuff, Dave, as you know, is time consuming. It takes a lot of your time. Hey, Dick, and you have to be pretty dedicated to this, and I know you are, and I am. 'Cause we're just trying to make a difference. We're not trying to gain anything. There's nothing that either one of us can gain from this. People might think that, oh, this guy's trying to get a job. Well, I'll be 70 years old in July. Dave, I do not need a job. I don't want a job. I want to help straighten our country out. That's the reason why I do this. If it wasn't for that, I would have a few sly words for people that just completely just always trying to put us down and trying to act like we're something that we truly are not. We're just patriots trying to help our president straighten this country out, and that's all that we're trying to do. And there is nothing to be gained at all by either one of us by doing this. So I just want the people to know that. But I was out. We've been out working, and obviously didn't do much during the holidays other than spend a lot of time with family and stuff. And I will say this, Dave, and I apologize, but I've gained 10 pounds. And there was just too many turkeys and too many Buckeyes and too much peanut butter candy and all that stuff, and I got kind of out of hand, and now I've got to suffer and start starving myself again. But anyway.
Yeah, you just look so fat, Wesley. I tell you what. Yeah.
Well, you can tell when you start putting it on.
I hear you.
I was.
Fat people don't find that funny, Wesley. Sorry. When a skinny person says they put on weight, fat people like me just kind of laugh at you and say, "You don't know what weight is." But go ahead.
Well, when you start breaking out of your pants, you know it's time to put the
I
hog
know.
on
Yeah,
something. But anyway,
apparently I
we,
didn't stop.
we were in a great place Thursday night. Dana Sizemore is my driver, and we were there Thursday night and spoke to the Washington County GOP. Enjoyed that immensely. A group of great people. I believe it's called Mordecai's Restaurant that where they had their meeting had absolutely delicious food. There was no doubt about it.
No wonder you put on those 10 pounds.
I know, and but I stayed away from the buffet though. I did have a salad, and that's true, but it was a really good salad. So we spent some time there with the great Republicans of Washington County. Springfield is a doggone nice town. I like Springfield.
Oh, it is a nice
You
town.
know, I've lived in Kentucky with one exception for the 8 years that I was left. I wasn't here and worked for the United States Treasury Department. I spent the rest of the 62 years of my life in Kentucky, but I've never had much of a reason to get out and just travel to almost every community within Kentucky. And Kentucky is a great place, and they have all kinds of great communities. To me, I would do this just to be able to see all these towns that I had never seen. But anyway, as I said, we was in Washington County Thursday night. Monday night we're going to be in Woodford County. Tuesday night we're going to be in Todd County. That's going to be a long drive out there and back. That's probably about 3.5 hours out and 3.5 hours back. Then on Thursday night we're going to be in Bullitt County in Shepherdsville. That's right outside Louisville, as you know, in Bullitt County. And then we're going to be in Louisville on Saturday the 18th to take back Kentucky. Then we're going to be at back to Louisville on the 21st for Kentuckiana Conservatives. That's also in Louisville. Then on the 22nd, we're going to be in Northern Kentucky for the Northern Kentucky Tea Party. They're going to be able to let us give our presentation to them. On the 25th, we're going to be doing the Lincoln Day Dinner, the Buffalo Trace Lincoln Day Dinner in Maysville, which is a great event. It covers about 4 or 5 counties. Then after the Buffalo Trace, we're going to be in Pendleton County on the 27th. And then the biggie, all of them are big, don't get me wrong, we're not taking anything away from anything, but we have been invited by the Kentucky United, which has about 70,000 members.
Right.
Kentucky has. We've been invited to speak at their Second Amendment rally at the Capitol building on the 31st. I'll be speaking at 11:30. My pastor is going to speak at 11 o'clock. Now, for all y'all out there that don't know my pastor, he's not a typical pastor or preacher or whatever. He's what you call, and if you've never known anything about this, go to and look up Black Robe. A Black Robe was a member of the clergy back during the Revolutionary War that not only taught the Bible from the pulpit, but he also taught all the issues of government issues and everything that's tied into the Bible, and you're supposed to operate your government and stuff based upon biblical principles. And they also, those Black Robe people, they were normally the head of a brigade that would fight in the Civil War. In the Revolutionary War. So it was my big bright ideal to put the pastor in front of me, because I told him, I said, you lay the framework, and then I'll bring in the blow by blow after you get done. So and he made some video. He made some cassette tapes on all this stuff going on in Virginia and all that stuff. And I'm telling you, he knocks them dead. There's no doubt about it. He absolutely knocks them dead. And I believe anyone who comes up to that rally on the 31st is going to be, they're going to be well pleased about a lot of things that's going to be said.
That's good. No, that's good. This stuff that's going on in Virginia is pretty bad. Did you see where the Ninth Circuit shot down the magazine ban in California?
No, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, just saw it on Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, they can say whatever they want to in Virginia, but the bottom line, did you just hear what that stupid governor said? Now, this is, folks, this is a liberal Democrat governor. Now, listen to what he said.
He said a lot of stupid things.
Well, listen to this one. Listen to this one. He took an oath to the state constitution and not the federal constitution, and says he's going to call in UN troops to Virginia. Now, can you imagine what's going to happen if he tries to call in UN? The president will never allow that to happen. There ain't no one going to violate our sovereignty like that.
No.
If they do, there's going to be blood running in the streets. I can tell you that.
You know what I know, that Trump is even trying to pull us out of the UN, Wesley, and I know how you feel about this, and I feel the same way. But the UN needs to be kicked off foreign soil, and UN needs to be expelled, and we need to stop. You realize we probably are 60% of the UN's budget. We give them $10 billion a year.
I think that's going to come to an end.
It needs to come to an end. Think what we can do in this country with $10 billion when there's homeless veterans sleeping on the street, Wesley.
The only thing that the UN has done to us since it was formed in 1945 is to try to undermine our sovereignty as a nation. That is all they've done since they've been in place. And I'll be honest with you, and I think if the president is going to do this, and I'm going to be 100% behind the president, I need to give them 48 hours to pack up and move out, and then take some of those giant big bulldozers that they use on big strip jobs and level that place within a matter of 2 or 3 hours, because that's what needs to happen to the United Nations. And if they try to send troops in here on us, they'll find out how fast they will be leveled.
Yep, I totally agree. We need to expel the UN and take our money back and our people back.
Well, we're talking about a lot of things here, Dave, but you and I had discussed. We'll get you back to, thank you, Dick. I'd love to come back. I've been reaching out to Breckenridge County, trying to schedule a speaking engagement with them. But let me go to some of the topics that we want to do, Dave. We've been just kind of taking questions and stuff and rambling around and talking about various things throughout these broadcasts. But we had, as you and I discussed earlier, what I'd like to do is take some time and talk about my history of how I got to where I'm at. Then I'd like to talk about the things that I stand for, what I believe that we should be doing, and then I want to talk about the 2 years I spent in the Kentucky House of Representatives. And I want to talk about everything that happened there, and then I have a list of all the bills that I sponsored or co-sponsored while I was there. And believe it or not, there's 102 of them, and some bills I think that a lot of people that watch this program is going to agree with. Then, I want to talk about my opponent, Mitch McConnell. And, of course, there's 6 other opponents now. Did you know that, Dave?
I'd heard that there were some more, but I haven't seen any other platforms or heard anything from anybody. Have you?
No, I haven't seen a thing. But you see, that's an old tactic of McConnell. He'll get other conservatives to get onto the ticket and run, so he will break up the conservative vote.
Right.
That's what he does.
Right.
So he depends on getting the rhino vote.
Right.
Which is a lot of the Republicans in Kentucky are rhinos.
That's right.
And so he depends on that. So if he can bring enough conservatives in to run and then break up the conservative vote, he figures, let me tell you something. This guy will do anything on the face of this earth to win.
Yep.
He will. And it's not enough that he's going to be there 36 years. I guess he wants to be there till he dies, because he is so consumed by the power. And that needs he needs to go. Yep. We're going to go over his voting record. Now, you and I did that 3 or 4 weeks ago. We went over each issue. Over the entire thing in one show. And if you recall, Dave, when we was going over that, our audience was as quiet as church mouse. Mm-hmm. They sat back and listened at it because they didn't even want to interject anything, because they wanted to hear it all. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to take McConnell's voting record, and then we're going to take topics. And here's the topics. environment and energy, what he's done to destroy coal business in Kentucky, Obamacare. We're going to take, and some of the shows might not even run an hour. They may run 30 minutes. And then we will take and we will discuss just that topic, Obamacare. And then we'll go and we'll go into the Second Amendment. We'll talk all about the Second Amendment. We'll go into the Fourth Amendment, and he's done a lot of damage on the Fourth Amendment. Also, let's see what else we got here. We got abortion. We want to talk have a show on abortion. And then on the Supreme Court, we want to talk about the judges. And this is the thing he's continuously touting, that he is putting all these conservative judges in place. And I'll be honest with you, I will give him credit for it now, but he's only doing it because it's an election. That's the only reason he's doing it.
He only becomes a conservative, whatever, 8 years?
He becomes every 6th year he becomes a conservative. But, President Trump nominated all these people. Dave, answer me this one question, and I don't know why the public cannot see it. Why were they not confirmed in the first 2 years of the president's term? Why not? People
act him in the first 2 years. Look how hard the president struggled in 2 years. The GOP wanted to complain and gripe and, I'm sorry, but bitch, moan, and groan instead of going about the people's business. Guys, I mean, look at them now. Look at the liberals. Look, I am so, I don't even recognize the Democratic Party anymore, Wesley.
Do you really believe, Dave, do you really believe that Mitch McConnell would be, in any shape, form, or fashion, trying to protect the President of the United States if he didn't know that it would cost him the Senate race if he doesn't appear to be supporting Trump?
Oh, no.
Do you really believe that based upon everything you've seen out of Mitch McConnell, including when he tried to undermine Trump when he was running for the nomination of the Republican Party? And he went down to somewhere in South Carolina or someplace, had that big meeting with all the other rhinos, tried to vault Mitt Romney in place and all that stuff. I don't forget that stuff. I know a lot of voters do, but I don't.
Well, Wesley, I was, when you really look at all if you go back and look at his vote, he voted as a liberal, socialist liberal was probably 95% of the time.
All those in the first year of the term of his new term, and the second year, third year, fourth year, and fifth year, he's all voting rhino. And the very minute you get into that 6th year, oh my gosh, he starts to pass it. He starts putting conservative judges in and all that. It's just a load of crap. This is what this guy does. And, so, the biggest thing that I don't.
Both sides of your mouth, Wesley, saying one thing and doing the other. And that's exactly what Mitch McConnell does.
Well, that's the reason people love the president. The president says what he means and means what he says.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do, Dave. As you know, we don't tell no lies. We don't do anything. We tell the truth. Now, they've been every lie in this world said about me, because that's what they try to do. They try to character assassinate you what they're trying to do is they try to turn the Christian vote against you by trying to make you appear to be immoral or somehow corrupt. And anybody who would believe anything that's written in that rag called the Courier Journal, or that rag called the Lexington Herald Leader, that is run by nothing but ultra liberals.
Yeah.
If you believe anything they do, I don't believe anything they say. Most everybody, I don't even watch the news anymore myself. I watch all YouTube stuff. And you need to watch X22 Report. It's a good report. Comes on every night, just like the news about what's going on. And they give you the truth of what's happening in Washington, D.C. and around the world. To continue on just a moment, we're going to talk about education. We're going to talk about the economy. We'll talk about prescription drugs. We'll talk about war and peace. All these things that we have researched his voting record on. Disenfranchising voters. This man has done a tremendous amount of disenfranchising the voters so he can control who is in the Senate or who's in the House. And he will only try to help those people. Well, I had somebody tell me the other day, or just not the other day, today, said that Why would you vote for me that I voted for a Democrat? They can't. I never voted for a Democrat in my life. How can they say that I voted for a Democrat? Just now, I will admit that the night that I lost my primary because Jeff Hoover and the Republican Party financed my opponent 100% and did everything they could to beat me in my primary. I did say that night that I said the Republican Party had lost a good conservative, and I'll just vote for the other person. I did say that night. And Morgan Eves is a staunch liberal, even more far left than Andy Beshear. And she was running against Deanna Frazier. And I wasn't going to vote for Deanna Frazier because of Jeff Hoover and because he picked her and what all he did.
Right.
That next morning, I recanted all. I said, there ain't no way I can support Morgan Eves. There's just no way under the sun I can vote for her. So me and my wife and my daughter and all of us, we wrote my name in on the ballot in that November election. So all that bull crap at the Lexington Herald, and why did the Courier Journal keep that article? That's been 2 years ago. Did they anticipate that Wesley Morgan was going to be running against Mitch McConnell? Are they keeping records on all of us the same way the FBI is surveilling all of us? What the heck's going on in this country?
Well, I mean, Wesley, it's I'm appalled in the last 6 months, even the last year, but boy, it just seems to get worse every month of what is going on with people in our country. This liberal left is just, it's hate. It's like, so we're not supposed to be for God, for country and liberties and freedoms. We're supposed to.
It's all that Soros money. Listen, I got one guy out of Davies County was posted on Facebook that I was being financed by George Soros. Can you imagine me being financed by George Soros?
You don't know who you are.
I mean, just think about the misinformation they try to put out there to try to get someone to not vote for you. They try to character assassination. That's another thing. And listen, you people out there that are supporting Mitch McConnell, let me ask you a question. Have you ever seen him debate? Have you ever seen him stand up for his own record? Or have you always seen him character assassinating somebody? Because that's all you've ever seen.
Yep,
and he's not going to stand on his record because he knows his record will not get him a win. There's no way. And he supports every single, he gets money from all of the pharmaceutical companies. His wife's making a fortune, which is flowing to him, running coal out of Colombia to China, and his wife's family's boating shipping business.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if anybody, I actually presented his voting record on the Second Amendment on Facebook. And this guy said, Daniel, since you sat there, I said, I don't care what he did. Said, trying to bring up stuff at 30 years ago. I said, it wasn't 30 years ago. You're just trying to spin it like it's something that it was a long time.
Yeah.
How can 2017, let me look at it here a second. What is the most recent? Second Amendment. I start off in 1991 and take it all the way through 2013. Now, that ain't 30 years ago, is it?
No, it's
not. I'm sure there's more. And look what he did on red flag laws. And boy, you got to give the president credit for this. The president just kind of dropped a hint and said, I might be open to looking at red flag laws. What did McConnell do? Now, guys, have you already forgot this? It was last summer. McConnell jumped up and said the Senate is ready to bring red flag laws and listen at it in the Senate. Remember that?
Yep, I do.
And then the president said, I'm not for red flag laws. And he just left Mitch out there on the island by himself. And I believe that is the reason why that the Kentucky House of Representatives allowed a red flags law bill to come to committee was to take the heat off of Mitch McConnell. Now, I truly believe that's the reason why they did that. Because there was never any possibility whatsoever that the Republicans, because if the Republicans pass a red flag law, now you talk about leaving the Republican Party, I am done with it if they do that. I can tell you straight up. And there's no backing up on that. I'll tell you right now.
Yep.
that if you want to attack me on the Facebook for leaving the Republican Party if they pass a red flag law, let me tell you that I will. I'll leave it immediately, because if they have lost their mind also, and that's another thing. You know, I believe there's a lot of corruption on both sides, and it's time to get it out of both places. But
it needs to happen. That is for daggone sure.
But anyway, that's basically what we're going to be covering. We're censoring conservative speech. The thing this guy has done to censor the Facebook and YouTube, what he's done about with the communists. You know, if Joe Biden and his son Hunter has took a $1.5 billion from China, well, what about Elaine Chao and her connection to Red China? And how in the world did they make all them millions and millions and millions, and they were able to give? Now, just give Elaine and Mitch $24 million. Isn't that something? I reckon it had anything to do with China becoming the most favored nation's trading partner. Do you reckon it had anything to do with Mitch McConnell monitoring the laws that were passed about shipping business between countries? Do you think that there's anything why that Mitch McConnell demanded that Elaine Chao be a Secretary of Transportation on the Trump administration? You think there's anything there that reason why that could be?
Seems a little confusing. Is what I call that.
It just boggles my mind. And then they have done everything in the world to the president, had him held hostage. You know, Mitch McConnell is a member of the Gang of Eight. Now, you know what the Gang of Eight is.
Yeah.
It's the Senate Majority Leader, and then the Chairman of the Intelligence Committee, and then the Senate Minority Leader, and then the ranking member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, and then it's the Speaker of the House, and then it's the Minority Leader, and then the two people on the Intelligence Committees. Now, did you know that Andrew McCabe, the fired FBI Assistant Director that they're probably going to get prosecuted pretty soon, he testified that he had absolute approval by the Gang of Eight to pursue that Russian hoax against President Trump. Now, the Senate Majority Leader could have stopped that if he wanted to, but he didn't. Now, let me throw something else at you, Dave. Let's go back to the Second Amendment for a second, and let me ask you this question: who has ultimate authority over Washington, D.C.? Who controls Washington, D.C.? See, Washington, D.C. is not a state, so it does not have autonomy. The people who control Washington, D.C. is the Congress. All right?
Right.
God help you if you get caught carrying a gun in Washington, D.C. Even though the Supreme Court has overruled them over and over and over. But they will not, they put in all kinds of obstructions so you can't get a firearm. It's got the highest murder rate in the country. And if we decide, like I want to drive over to Washington, D.C., then I have to take my gun and hide it somewhere and leave it, because if I get caught with it, I'll never get out of jail. Now, who controls that? Who does not enforce the Second Amendment in Washington, D.C.? It's the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell, and the Speaker of the House. They're the ones who controls Washington, D.C. Now think about that.
They're a District of Columbia. I don't know how that's what the D.C.
Well, it was a deal that was made with I believe Jefferson, Thomas Jefferson, or it might have been Madison. It was a deal that they would move they would take a part of Virginia away and make it autonomous, and that there would be no state authority over the capital, but it is controlled by the United States Congress.
Wow.
They can do away with the government if they want to, So that's how, and then for them to sit there and completely, the people who live in Washington D.C. are being denied their Second Amendment rights. Now think about that. And who puts up with it? Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell's not for the people. Mitch McConnell's for Mitch McConnell. And I can tell you right now that Mitch McConnell, he doesn't care enough about the people to. If he didn't have stuff to gain, he'd probably be gone. But he loves the power. He absolutely loves the power. He'd probably never be doing this at 70 years old like I'm sitting doing it. Just wanting to do it one term, possibly two, but it's probably going to be one because of my age, just so I can get his stranglehold off this state. So a person asked me the other day, Dave, they said, why didn't you just run for your House seat? And I said, what difference would it be if I went back to the House of Representatives, the State House, if Mitch McConnell's controlling the state?
Yeah.
What are you going? What would be the reason? There's no sense going up there and wasting your time, because he is absolutely. It reminds me. He controls the state of Kentucky the way John Gotti controlled the mafia of New York. No question about it.
I want to make a comment. Sam Welsh says, and Sam has kind of cuts us off here. My friends, please join in and give Mr. Morgan a chance. He's running for U.S. Senate. If you are like me and want a true patriot, here he is. Beware the people but the people of Kentucky have got to step up and support C. Wesley Morgan for 2020 U.S. Breckenridge County Republicans for Wesley Morgan for U.S. Senate. Thanks, Sam.
Appreciate that, Sam.
Don made a comment earlier there. I want to go back. Create total confusion so votes have trouble recognizing the truth versus the lies, and that's exactly what he does.
That's what they've been doing to President Trump since the day he was sworn in. And what's the president trying to do? He's trying to fix this country, and you've got a certain element that the news media has done nothing but lie. If you believed everything on Donald Trump that the news media said, you'd hate him.
Yep. Mary Ellen said Washington, D.C. was a compromise between the Northerners, the Hamiltons, and the Southerners, the Jeffersonians, meant to be between the two regions. How are they governed? You're saying they don't follow any government. You mean they basically?
No, the government was created. The government of D.C. is created by Congress. They govern. Now they got a mayor, a city mayor,
and everything. Is that why they call it the Capitol Police?
Yes. All that budget is Congress passes their budget. They have a mayor that oversees the functions and stuff of the city, but that all that is controlled by the United States Congress. They could tomorrow pass a law and remove it all just by passing a law.
I don't think I ever learned that, Wesley. That's different. I did not know that. She said it was established in 1790.
So for our Congress to sit there, any member of that Congress that sits there and allows those people to be deprived of their constitutional right, Second Amendment, or any other amendment.
Isn't any amendment, anything against the Constitution of the United States considered treasonous or unlawful? Anything that goes against
it would be called sedition if you're trying to do things to. I think that there are a bunch of people right now in Washington D.C. is getting ready to get charged with sedition. I don't think there's any doubt about that. That's going to happen, and people can act like if there's nothing. The Washington Post is putting out a bunch of articles like at this Hoover investigation is not turned up anything, but I think that's all a bunch of malarkey. They're throwing that out there. They don't know what's going on. There has been no leaks. I think you're going to be surprised the number of people that go to prison, and I think it's all going to happen. But because people have such short memories, Dave,
I know
they're having to wait close to the election to do it.
Right. Wesley, it's sad that we're 200 and some years old, and we're already at this point that we're may
If
have
we
to
don't
fight.
get people like you and I, if we don't get people like you and I who know what the difference is between right and wrong, that stand up and do the right thing, even if and Dave, it has brought me no blessings to stand up for what's right.
Oh no, I
I've
know.
been slandered from one end to the other.
Sorry, Wes.
What did Ellen say there?
Let's see. Residents of Washington, D.C. lack full self-governance. Representation in Congress is limited to a non-voting delegate of the House of Representatives and a shadow senator. In 1964, Washingtonians were first allowed to vote in presidential elections. The city was allowed to elect its own mayor only in 1973. It's an odd situation. Wes is right. Wow, I didn't know that. You know, the more I learn about history, Wesley, I thought I was pretty good in history class, but I'll be honest with you, the older I get and the more I learn about history, the more I realize I really don't know. We weren't taught that in school.
There's so many people that go through school and stuff, and they get out here and there's fouls in their mouth and stuff and talking about things that they don't have a clue about. But the thing that bothers me is to know that my Congress, my senators, and my representatives are denying people their rights in Washington, D.C. And that to me is unbelievable. It's just like that governor in Virginia. He's acting like he's not going to pay any attention whatsoever to the citizens of Virginia.
Oh,
If I was that guy, I'd get me an iron box to live in, because they won't put up with him. I'm telling you, they won't. Virginians are like Kentuckians. They're not going to have him to just come in and swoop down and take their constitutional rights. Now, let me tell you something, Dave. If we allow them to take our Second Amendment rights, it's over.
oh, it's done. Yeah, it's done.
Because no other part of the Bill of Rights or the Constitution will stand. If they can take one piece away, they can take it all.
That's right. That's exactly right. Don says, why didn't the Republicans stop all the investigation when they controlled both the House and the Senate during the first 2 years after President Trump took office?
Well, Don, that's what I said a moment ago. Mitch McConnell was part of the Gang of Eight. The Gang of Eight gave their full blessing to Andrew McCabe and the FBI to do that hoax Russian investigation against the president. And then McConnell wants to try to act like he's a pro-Trumper. Jesus Christ, Kentucky, wake up. All he wants you to do is vote him back in, and then you watch what he does to the president. It will not be pretty.
What steps do Americans need to take in order to install term limits? Require congressional members to use the same health care and retirement plan that all Americans must use. Well,
my opinion is they will absolutely never do it against their best interest.
No.
As long as they're able to vote for their interest, there's no way it's going to happen. Maybe convention of states may be the only way that you can get that. Now, I'll be honest with you. I've got quite a few friends that's in that convention of states, but I'm afraid of it. If the Constitution had just laid out some safeguards in it, then I would be for it 100%. But basically what it does is it gives the state legislatures a right to pick these delegates to go to a constitutional convention and change the laws, and then it has to be ratified. But it has to be ratified like if the Congress passed a amendment to the Constitution, it has to go to the states, and 3/4 of the states has to ratify it. The problem is that I'm sorry, people. Right now, I don't trust my legislature, the legislators across the country. Well, who knows what they're going to do? And if once they get into a convention, the first thing they're going to go after is Second Amendment. That's the first thing.
Linda said most Kentuckians don't know what Mitch is doing unless you do research on how he has voted in the government bills. You're absolutely right, Linda. You don't. Until you look at how he's voted, you don't know who he is or what he is.
And the problem with that, Dave, is that so many people So many people, uh, they don't care. How can you not care? How if I look at you and say you're a McConnell supporter, have you read his voting record? I don't
No,
care. I don't
I
care
don't.
what. I
Yeah.
don't care. You don't care what his voting record is. Do you know what that is, Dave? Dave, let me tell you what that is. Your father was a minister, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Let me tell you what that is, Dave. That's idol worship. You've got so many people that are worshiping these long-term people that's supposed to in office, and it's their idol. They can't get away from their idol, and it's causing them. It's bringing their own life down. It's ridiculous.
If we don't, and thanks, Linda. You have Rand Paul also who votes against our president. I didn't realize he had any votes against. I don't know his voting record. Wesley, do you? I haven't really looked at
Well,
Rand.
what she's referring to is the recent vote limiting the because that he took Salamani out, the San Manuel, however you pronounce his name.
Okay.
That they're acting like he overstepped his power. Do you remember that? What was the guy that turned Muslim from Arizona and went to the Middle East and they killed him and he was an American citizen.
Do they not?
Nobody said a word when Barack Obama killed him.
Do you honestly think that the president was the only one that made that decision, Wesley? I don't. I really don't.
He's the ultimate decision, but he's listening to the recommendations of his generals. But
Absolutely.
here's the thing: that guy's killed so many Americans. I don't have no. Thank God he killed him.
It was over 600. Somebody said. I don't know the amount, but some of the stuff he was behind is unbelievable.
You know all those roadside. What do they call them?
IEDs.
Is that what it is?
IEDs.
IEDs. He's the one come up with that. All these American boys that's sitting around this country right now missing legs and arms and eyes and this guy did that to them, and we're gonna have some kind of concern about Soleimani. Ha! You know what kind of concern I got for him? What they did to him? They put him away.
Dick says, I guess the convention of state has to be ratified by 38 states. So that, I mean, honestly, Dick, if people don't start putting conservative constitutionalists, people that are loyal to this country, to the Constitution, like Wesley, then that's the only thing that may save us before.
Let me ask Dick a question.
Go ahead.
He wants to put it over to those legislators too, and 38 of them. It takes 38 of them to ratify it. Does it not scare you to death? Let's look at the number of state governors, including 17 Republican governors, that's taking more of these people from the Middle East into their states.
So what's the answer, Wesley? Obviously it's not. We're not having any luck in Washington. I mean, I know you can go up there, but we need about 30, 40 of you that are
That's right.
We'll stick to the Constitution of the United States and what's best for the people of America.
Well, you need a strong Justice Department. You really need a strong Justice Department because you have to put this right hand up and you have to swear to uphold the Constitution of the United States. The first time you don't do that, you need to be put out of office right then and there.
I agree.
And the Justice Department can do that.
Don Haney, can Americans get the opportunity to vote on term limits? Could you ever get that on the ballot, Wesley?
No. They never allow it. They might through the Convention of States, but that's all.
Steve Smallwood says people would be outraged if Iran killed 30,000 Americans in 1 year, but in fact, that is exactly what is happening through our southern border from the Mexican cartels constantly smuggling of drugs. If we don't secure our southern border, and it will not matter how we vote in a few years. I don't disagree with that.
Well, we've been arguing this thing over the border, and the poor president's been having to to reappropriate money out of the defense fund to build the wall. Even though McConnell, let's go back to McConnell again. This budget we just passed, he didn't fund the wall. $1.5 billion is all they would allow him again. And you know what? Is a Senate majority leader worth anything that will not stand up for what's right? If I was Senate majority leader, I'd say, hey guys, this ain't happening on my watch.
Johnny Calhoun, I agree, Wesley. He pours the money in that satisfies the last for desires of so many. That's why they idolize him. He's talking about Mitch. Linda thought it was 34, Linda, but according to Dick, who's in that organization, pretty high up, says it's 38.
It's 3/4 is what it is. Whatever 3/4 of 50 is.
Don, did Democrats vote to limit funding for veterans to receive treatments and benefits promised to them? I think he's talking about the vote. And I don't know what that was. I did see that Nancy Pelosi voted against that. Did you see that on Facebook? She voted to hold up the funding for veterans. And
here's the problem with that, Dave. There isn't one senator or one state or one representative that created that bill. It was created by the deep state. It was created by people who work there all the time. All they did is vote on it. They don't even give them enough time to read it. That's not the way it's supposed to be done. It's supposed to be under the Constitution. Any money that's spent by the federal government is supposed to be appropriated out of the House Ways and Means Committee of the United States Congress. And you're supposed to break them up and see if you break things up to where people can see them, Dave, they know. You put it all together so they can't see it. That's what they do time and time again.
I know there was a conservative, and I don't remember the name of it, that I was part of in Washington. It was called, they had put before a bill called Read the Bills Act. It limited the amount of how big a bill could be to so many pages. And whatever that bill was, it had to be focused on that specific
needs to be topic.
Okay, that's topic. It couldn't add any pork barrel or any other topic in with it. It was that specific bill. So they had to limit the scope of the bill, and they had to read the Bills Act. You have to say that it had to be big enough, not so big that 80, 100 pages, 100, 200 pages. Who's got time to read that, Wesley? They don't have time to read that. Hell, do you have time to read a 240-page book in a week?
No.
They don't read the whole bill.
They can't.
Who sits
that's because they're grouping it all together to where you cannot see what's going on in it. They are the ones who's allowed this.
That's exactly right.
They need to vote them every single one out. There's not a one needs to be state to state.
You're right. Let's see. Okay. Sam Welch, Washington, D.C. will never voluntarily relinquish the meaningful power no matter who's elected. The only rational conclusion is Convention of States because D.C. will never fix itself.
All right, guys, let's talk the truth here just a second. Let's all be honest. If you're sitting up there and you're one of the elite, are you going to vote yourself out?
Of course not.
Nobody is. There is nobody going to vote money out of their pocket or power out of their pocket. And you've got to remember something about the government. They can take power from the people, but they never give power back. It's like a sponge. Once they suck that power up, that water up, there ain't nobody going to twist that sponge and get the water back out of it. So Dick is absolutely correct. If you could get a legitimate convention of states that was manned by a bunch of conservatives who would go back and fix it, they could fix it all in a matter of just short time. But how are you going to get those?
This is interesting. Which constitution are you following? The one our founders created or the 3,000-page, the one the bureaucrats at the Supreme Court?
I followed the one that our founders created. What is it, 287 pages long or something like that? I can't remember off the top of my head.
Ellen or Dick, what is the Constitution? How many pages is it? I know you guys will know. Dick said, Ellen, so you saw, Sorry, guys. I'm just getting sick. Linda said it is 34 states, Linda, to hold a convention of states, and then 38 states to ratify it. So
That's because of the 3/4 rule in the Constitution about passing the
Right.
Constitution amendment. I don't know how they allowed the 34, but
yeah, and I didn't. This is good, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. The greatest danger to the American freedom is a government that ignores the Constitution. Thomas Jefferson.
it's being done every single day. They become it's tyranny. They've become tyrants that are literally. And what just absolutely blows my mind is the number of people who do not recognize it. They sit and get up every morning and they go to work and they work their butts off and they make whatever dollars they make. And then when they get home with the paycheck at the end of the week, 47% of it's gone. 47% of their check is gone. They didn't do that overnight. They started off very slowly, and then he added more and added more and added more and added more. I'll give you a good example, Dave. I'll tell you about that. Let's talk about Madison County just for a second. Madison County acts like if they need additional tax revenue. Now, Dave, I don't know about you, but just drive around Madison County, and you look. And I'll give you a prime example. Look at Richmond Center. And look at across the road from it there where all the hotels are and Texas Roadhouse and all that stuff in there. That stuff wasn't there 20 years ago.
No.
And all these subdivisions, all these new subdivisions been built. They tax. That creates a property tax base. Every single time that you build something, if a person comes in here and builds a building, buys a piece of land and builds a building and starts a new business, they're going to be paying property tax. So how much has our property taxes increased over the last 20 years, and they still need more? That makes sense.
Well, did you see? I saw a thing on Facebook about Louisville. Did you see that their pension plan's in trouble, and they are proposing a restaurant tax?
Always take more from the people. Take more from the people. Take more from the people.
Can't manage what they've got. They can't manage what we entrusted them with. You know, Wesley, if they knew, they said, well, if we don't raise this tax, we're going to have less police and less fire and less services. Well, by gosh, don't you think you should have figured on people retiring and made sure? I mean, come on. Wesley? Learn to manage what you got.
Dave, let me ask you this question. How come that people that's getting paid by the taxpayers supposed to have these exorbitant retirements and medical insurance and all that stuff when ordinary people don't have it? Now, let me say this. I'm not taking anything away from teachers or state police or whatever. They deserve everything they get. But you never, ever change it, because when they came on board expecting certain things that was available to them when they were hired on.
I don't blame them at all.
No, you can't take nothing from them, nothing. But you can change the rules for new people that's being hired. It happened to me when I was working for the United States government. We had a civil service retirement plan that was absolutely, the greatest thing since sliced bread, and we didn't have to pay Social Security. And then about somewhere in the mid 80s, they changed it for new hires so that you started paying Social Security. Well, if you're coming on board and you know what the benefits are and the pay is and all that stuff, then you really don't have anything to complain about. But you can't complain or you don't supposed to just take something away from somebody. Let's say that's one thing that I disagree with Bevan on. That he started talking about taking sick days away and taking putting 3% for their health care and things like that. And then it broke to certain years you had on. if you was in 5 years of retiring, it was a lot worse than the ones retiring right now. Well, why? Just because it's your 5 years out, why should you get all the penalty?
Right.
It just wasn't. It wasn't fair. It wasn't fair by any stretch of imagination. I don't blame them for getting upset. They should have. But you can't talk to them. And what's wrong with us is this. And I saw this in the General Assembly. You've got so many people up there in the General Assembly, and this is true in Congress too, Senate and House, don't have a clue how you make $1. They don't know how to make $1. They've never worked like we have, Dave. They've never got up in the morning, at 6:00 in the morning and go in and open a store up and work it all day and put up with employees that's stealing from you and customers shoplifting you and all that stuff. They never had to do that. They've lived off look at the Obamas. They've always lived off salaries, big salaries off of the University of Chicago or wherever, which was really federally granted money. Our federal taxes, you'll never fix this country until you fix the tax system. Never. Until you cut the flow of money off to these crooked people, it ain't never going to change. Never. And they will fill their pockets up as fast as they can and leave all of us regular folks to fend for ourselves while they strangle us to death, like a slow death. And that's what's happening.
I know we're kind of think here, Wesley, on final thoughts. I'm going to throw up some questions kind of in succession so we can get everybody in. Dick Cole says he carries the Constitution in his pocket. It's less than 30 pages. 30 pages. And you can get your free copy at conventionestates.com. Carry one in your pocket. That's awesome. I like that, Dick. Thanks. Real quick, and then Linda Allen says someone like Bevan comes in, and that's what he tried to do, and he's out. When people stand up and fight is when we get something done.
Well, Bevan, in my opinion, he defeated himself.
I agree.
He said a lot of things he shouldn't have said. I think Bevan's intentions were probably correct, but he just went about it the wrong way. And I think, really, to be honest with you, I think he was trying to mimic President Trump, but it just wasn't going over the way it goes over with Trump. Trump can call somebody Pocahontas and people don't get mad. But Bevan, he that New Hampshire attitude, I guess, didn't help him at all. But I think he beat himself, and the arrogance, I believe, was his problem.
I think he was arrogant, and he really talked down to people, and I think that was his ultimate downfall, Wes, and that's just my opinion. But Sam Welch, convention of states see 4 major abuses against the people: the spending and debt crisis. I agree with that. The regulatory crisis, congressional attacks on state sovereignty, and federal takeover of the decision-making process. I don't disagree with any of that, Sam. You're absolutely 100% correct. So, and by the way, Wes, if a delegate goes off course from the Convention of States resolution, he or she can be recalled and face a felony charge.
Dick, is that state law or federal law?
Dick, is that state or federal law? Delegate goes off course from the Convention of State resolution, he or she can be recalled and face felony charge. That's awesome. Wish we could do that now, Wesley.
Yeah, me too.
Real quick, police and teachers have sacrificed low wages in exchange for an early retirement so they can then go to the private sector after retirement and then have a chance to earn more. You'll get I'm sure, Wesley, out of you, I can speak the fact that there is no doubt that police and teachers do not make anywhere near the money they ought to make. They do it because they love to do it. And I understand about the retirement. I think Wesley's point is it's the thing that bothers. It's just not sustainable, Wesley. The way they set it up and lured in teachers and what teachers have to go to college to get a degree, the degrees they have to get to teach is ridiculous.
Well, the problem is I don't know how we keep recruiting the outstanding men and women that we do to do those jobs. And, especially like Stevie said, at the wages that they're paid is ridiculous. And I watch those troopers, and that's one thing that makes me so angry. I watch them be abused at the Capitol. They're brought in to protect those big feeling politicians, and they stand there on their feet, and just like one of the Ed Robinson told me that he went up there on protection detail and said those big politicians were sitting there eating those big steaks and stuff, and they took them down to the kitchen and gave them a bologna sandwich.
Are you serious?
That's how they do them. These guys, and they can't stay safe. They can't stay safe without those troopers. I don't know how they put up with it.
Dick Cole says there's an oath that the delegates have to sign. I think what Wesley was asking is, was that a federal or state mandate? I think what he was saying under the Constitution. I guess, Dick, under the Convention of States articles. Guys, we're out of time here. Wesley, kind of final thoughts. I'll throw in one more question up. Justin Wilson asked, how do you defend deregulating and empowering big business when they're mostly ran by liberals and Democrats? Like when Georgia passed an anti-abortion bill and all the big companies threatened to boycott the whole state. Seems self-defeating.
Well, Justin, it's going to take a little bit, Dave, but let me tell you something. The very definition of National Socialism, which is Nazi, is a marriage between the government and big corporations. That's what it is. And there's no doubt that that's going on in this country right now.
Yeah.
And they do not, our government is not protecting the everyday common person.
No.
They're protecting those multi-million dollar companies that are providing all of the cash to them so they can run and stay in power. And I'll give you an example, and I'm going to give you one that you can relate to. They are right now in the process of trying to give the state alcohol industry over to Amazon. Now, could you imagine that if you really believe that alcohol should be controlled by the state, then how in God's name are you going to allow it to be shipped in by UPS or Federal Express from Amazon into any place they want to send it? And how in God's name do you ever know for sure that it's not kids getting it?
That's right. That's exactly right. Justin, I'll tell you how you do it. It has to start at the federal level, and that's where it has to start.
I think they need to outlaw corporations myself. I don't think we need corporations. I think corporations has done nothing but destroy heartland America. Where's all your Western auto stores? Where's all your mom and pop corner markets?
We've let them run them out of business. You're right.
And you know what? Now we've got people from foreign countries coming over and buying up all our gas stations, all of our convenience stores, all of our liquor stores, and why are they buying it up? Because most of them are getting their funding from the SBA.
Want to throw this up to you. Dick Cole says, Wes, if you can attend the COS rally in Frankfurt on the 29th, I'll save you a seat. Come meet Mark.
I'll do it if you let me speak.
There you go, Dick. If you let him speak, he'll come. But you may have to educate him on the COS because I just don't know about it. He knows more about it than I do, to be honest with you. I'm going to leave us with a final thought. I'm going to say one thing before you do is my final thought. Let's see. One thing I want to grab, just overrun by big business, not the government. And that's, well, they're both. I have to be honest with you, Justin. They're in bed together, and that's the problem, because what Wesley's trying to say is big business is basically buying the government.
That's right. That's exactly right. The
The
government is allowing the big business to overrun us because of the funding that's being done by big business to the government.
Everybody, you know who Albert Einstein is, right? And I think everybody does, right? Albert Einstein said the world will not be destroyed by those who do evil, but by those who watch them without doing anything.
That's the reason I'm running for the United States Senate, Dave. I could have coasted on out. I didn't need to take the abuse that I took. But there's nobody ever took the abuse that Donald Trump, as president of our country's took.
No.
The sedition and the abuse that one man has taken, and all because all he wants to do is protect the sovereignty of the United States and restore. And Donald Trump's about, I believe he's about 2 or 3 years older than me. Restore the kind of world that we had when we were growing up as young men, as kids and young men. And it was totally different, and you did not have to account to the government the way you have to account to it now. And
right.
My final thoughts is this. I will not drop out of this race. I will work this race as hard as I can. They have done everything under the sun to demoralize me, to try to get me. People come onto my Facebook page and say, you don't have a chance. You don't have a chance. I said, well, if I don't have a chance, why are you so worried? Why is it that you even want to even bother with it? If I don't have a chance, then just ignore me.
Right.
But that's not what it is, Dave. Because they're worried.
No, it's not what
they're worried because there's so many people that owe their power to McConnell, and it's almost like a domino effect.
Yeah.
And it's time the people take back their government. And I know that's a cliche been used for years and years and years, and it don't seem we ever get there. And I don't know if we ever will. But I'll tell you this much, David. This has been my final thought. I'll tell you this much. When I become your next United States Senator, I will hang that place up until they'll either throw me in the river or do something, because I will hang it up to where they absolutely can't pass anything that's not constitutional without going through every procedure that they need to go through.
Thank you, Johnny. Great job, guys. Really enjoyed tonight. Thank God for Wesley Morgan.
Thank you, Johnny.
Amen, brother. I agree with Johnny. I think you mean Calvin. Linda Allen says it's called a New World Order. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great night. God bless. God bless you, Wesley, and may God continue to bless the USA. And it's time that the patriots stand up for what's right.
Thank you,
thank you, Wesley, and I appreciate you running and taking a stand. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us next Sunday night at 9 as we continue to get through these issues. And we're going to go through what's next Sunday. What's up, Wesley? What's going to be the topic?
Well, I'll probably go into the Fourth Amendment next Sunday. And, I'll tell you what, let's just make it let's make it about my history and what I stand for next Sunday. And that'll go into all kinds of areas, but we'll get that over with, and then we'll start going into the topic issues.
Okay, sounds great. Wesley, appreciate you. Good evening.
Appreciate it.
God bless Wesley. God bless you, and God bless America.
Thank you.